as always, we have the enabler of the day, where we highlight top incubator heads and top corporate innovation program heads also, to share with us they whatever amazing things that they are doing in their organization. So today we have Mr. Sathyanarayana from AGBI, which is AIC-Great Lakes Balachandran Incubation Center. As you know, we are doing this particular set of sessions every day, where we try to highlight in 20 minutes all the amazing things that you guys are doing, right? So how about we straight away jump into the session by giving you the floor. If you can start with some opening remark about the things that you are doing and AGBI is brewing, that'll be great.
Hey, thank you. First of all, thanks, Vagush, for giving me this opportunity, and thanks to all of you for joining in. So I'm Sathya, and I lead the incubator at AGBI, AIC-Great Lakes Balachandran Incubator. So we are an incubator which is actually hosted in Great Lakes Institute of Management in Chennai, which is actually Mahabalipuram. So if you ever come to Mahabalipuram, please do call us, and we'll be happy to host you. So we provide support for early stage startups, and we are also a new incubator in the area and the arena. So we are just 2 years old, and we're trying to do things what we can. So over to you, Agish. I mean, more on to your rapid fire questions when you actually come up with them.
Yeah, super. So to start with, let's talk about the general things, right, which will be beneficial for the startups to know more about AGBI. So first and foremost, let's start by elaborating on the type of programs that AGBI does. So your focus sector, and also what are the kinds of programs that you have available for startups to apply, and also what is the duration of each program? If you can elaborate on these things, that'll be great.
To be frank, we had sector focus as fintech, healthcare, and rural tech, because as a B school, we also have a community program called Kartavya and Karma Yoga, and as a part of those initiatives from the B school, we thought we will also reach out to the rural tech entrepreneurs and impact them. But if you look at it, see, we are a B school and we are not a tech school, so, right?
Yeah.
So telling that we will actually focus on these sectors would be probably a little bit difficult, and also would not fall into the sync, because the very fact that we are not a tech school. So we thought that we repositioned ourselves, we thought a lot, and then we saw how we can position ourselves in the ecosystem when there are so many incubators around, when there are so many common instrumentation facilities, government programs, everything. And we decided that we will actually take a step back or a step forward and say that we will support startups in a sector agnostic manner. We will not have any sector focus, but we will support startups more on the business side of things. Our core strength is business and management, and then we have good faculties, great researchers on campus. We also have a great talent which can support startups in terms of gig work and all those things. So we said that we support startup in business side of things. So right from idea validation, market access, all those things. So we have a standard program. We don't have a cohort as of now. We have a program. We are a little choosy. We don't go on numbers. We have very few startups, but we do focus on how we can actually cater to them on a personal attention basis, and solve their problems.
Super.
So we have a 1-year program which is extendable by 6 months, and we call it as a plain incubation program. But we also have 2 programs called MVP Runway, where we try to reduce the runway from MVP to market commercialization. We have a program called Traction 5, where we say we take startups with 5 customers, B2B, and then we try to scale them up to 20 customers in a year.
Oh, nice. So since it's not necessarily a cohort-based programs, can I think that the selection process is going to be on as a one-on-one basis, and if so, how exactly, what are all the criteria that you look for in a startup which
See,
you
actually,
normally?
we don't look
Yeah.
for any criteria from startups. We ask the startups to look for criteria in us, and then
Okay.
we tell them that this is what we can do, and this is how we can help. We also look at what they do and what their product offering is, and see how we can add value there. And that's when I said we are little choosy. It's not that we are choosy about startups, it's about choosy
Hmm.
about what we can offer to startups. Because at the end of the day, if we are not able to add value to them, there's no point in we going in as a incubation partner to them.
Got it. Got it. Cool, cool. So, moving on to the impact that AGBI could create, right, in the ecosystem. So, can you highlight, a couple of impacts that you could create through these programs, and if you can highlight some stories about the startups, right, who are incubated and their success stories, that'll be great.
What we feel is, since I look back into my role in the government, where I have funded a lot of startups, I have led India's biggest grant in aid seed funding program. I've seen startups struggle. And then from the policymaker now to incubation side of things, both are basically a little thankless jobs. And what we understand is at the core, the idea validation is very important, right? So a lot of ideas are there. There are already 90,000 startups as per the Startup India report. And we have more startups than anything in the country. So I think validating an idea in terms of product market fit, and regulatory aspects, which they can actually face, through which they can actually, heading towards failures. This is what we do. And when we say we do idea validation, we don't do idea validation by ourselves. We call in experts to validate the idea at an idea stage itself, so that they can do a necessary fixes on the features and pivots and wherever they can, and then create a better impactful product, right? Which the market needs. So this is the first thing what we do. But after that, we jump on to the MVP. We don't much focus on the product, because we can focus, we can support them with partners whom we have, but we can't, that's not our core to involve in the product development, right? We do expertise in software side, SaaS, PaaS and all, but on the hardware side, we don't. So what we do is we ask them to come back when they have the product prototype, MVP, and then we help them with pricing strategies. We help them identifying markets, what surveys they should do so that they can get the right data to enter into markets. Because we are a B school and we have expertise in that, and we take help from our faculties, and that's working well for us.
Got it. So sure. Just a follow-up question, right? So of course, with your expertise, can you throw some spotlight on the various factors that incubator heads can consider when they are developing a program for startups, right? Of course, there are so many ground realities that only through experience we can realize. So there are so many programs which of course they look good, but they don't necessarily create the impact. So balancing these two, how do you, what are all the factors that the incubators can consider, you think, can actually help startups create an impact when they are incubated in their incubators?
Yeah, I think, as I said, and also I've read somewhere, space doesn't guarantee any subsidy, and funding doesn't guarantee success for startups. What guarantees success for startups is paying customers. So, and very strong mentors who can actually help them and guide them and ensure that there's no time loss or effort loss for them, right? So what we do is, one of the core focus areas is to build a strong mentorship model, where we do structurally mentor startups. We do call them once in a month and say, hi, how are you? If you don't have anything to say, that's okay, fine, but we still have to talk once at least in a month, and whoever is virtually incubated. So one of the biggest constraints for Great Lakes or AGBI has been the distance from Chennai, because we are 60 kilometers away, and That's been one of our biggest constraints, and we have overcome that by having all the virtual incubated startups.
Mhm.
Most of our startups are from outside Chennai, and we provide them what we can. And I think all the incubator managers, going back to your question, have to focus on building a very strong mentorship focus. Because funding against startup cells of the states have been providing funding. Startup India Seed Fund is providing funding. So I think funding is not a problem right now. For startups in the early stage and the later stage, if they're doing well anyway, angels and VCs are there to back them up. But I think mentorship, early, faster, idea conception to market faster, and then customer acquisition. This is what they should provide.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like, and also, see, mentors more than just like hand holding the startups, they can validate the ideas and they can validate the business processes also, right? Like throughout the journey. So yeah, makes sense. So with that being said, like mentorship is of course one major aspect, but in terms of equipments and resources, right? Of course, like you did mention that AGBI focuses more on the business side, and also, of course, like partly on the software side, not on the hardware side. But when an incubator, when incubator head, right, like thinks about securing the necessary resources to actually like attract the right kind of startups. So, what are all the things that they need to consider in terms of equipment, in terms of partnership?
I think they should focus. Okay, let me tell you this thing, that AGBI also has an EIML lab. I think probably this is one of the first labs which any B school can have, because I see very few AIML labs. We have the best AIML lab here. We have a tinkering lab. We do have a media innovation lab. In case if any startup wants to come and build their product videos and their stories, we have an entire suite of things over there. So, but only thing is, we are too far from the city, and but we are closer to the beach. So anybody wants to come in and spend some time on the campus, they're happy to do that. We can facilitate that. I think on the software side, everything is on cloud. So I don't know anything is required in the hardware format, apart from the good laptop what they can have. But on the hardware product side, if they really want to do some tinkering and other things, I think the best is the engineering colleges or the research labs which they are close by. I feel, this is standing outside the AGBI. If you ask me, I think creating infrastructure is a vital event now. To manage also, and I think we should focus on utilizing the existing ones. And associate with each other and see how we can utilize the space and asset utilization, rather than going on and on creating more incubators and spaces.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And do you think this can also be one of the solutions for the geographical constraint, right? Like you mentioned, AGBI is of course located outside Chennai. So having the right kind of equipment and having the cutting edge technology, do you think that will of course promote startups to take the effort to come and stay there, and then and that will have a cumulative effect on their this thing as well, right? Like the way of doing business, and therefore can it lead to can it increase their success rate actually?
Yeah, I think, I recently met one of the startup founders who got his entire product designed by a company and then manufactured by a fab lab. So he actually had very less time investing in himself in the tinkering of the product, right? So he was focusing rather on selling the product and the idea to his investors in the meantime, friends and family. I think he did a great job. So he also gave me those leads, and I can actually share with you, and so that you can also pass it on to startups. So I think startups have to look at how they can outsource now, how they have outsourced accounting and HR and other things in the initial phases. I think they just have to outsource this first prototype making also, rather than tinkering themselves. But if that is the part of the founders, fancy or what they want to do, they can always go and do it and finish it up faster in a fab lab, rather than we creating that. I mean, as an incubator head, this is what we feel. There's too much of investments on the infrastructure, right? It doesn't come just with that. It comes a lot with AMC, resource for managing that, a lot of things.
Got it. I wanted to kind of ask this sort of general question. Okay, so about the future, your prediction. So if you were to visualize 2026, right? Like as a policymaker as well, what are all the things that the stakeholders in the startup ecosystem can do better, right, to influence the ecosystem as a whole in a better sense, actually?
I mean, very tough question. So, I think one area which a founder would probably need to understand is, from the government side, they should focus on ease of doing business. Today it takes less time to open a company and mostly a year to close it, and that's become a pain point for any founders. Ease of doing business is one. Second is understanding this. Decoding this funding aspect, right? How people, some of them are raising 2 million in Series A, some of them are raising 30 million in Series A. How does that happen? If somebody is able to decode that aspect to the founders, they will understand as actually, okay, this is how the fundraise happens, right? Somebody are able to raise funds even before they hit the market, but somebody is not able to raise even after having good steady business. So this is something which has to be decoded. And I think in future, there will be very tough competition. And I think with this recent data protection bill, which is coming up, I think there will be much more scrutiny on how the data is being used. And the software PaaS platforms or SaaS platforms have to be really more cautious on how they intake the data. The data itself should be less. And I think product startups have to focus on service rather than, selling. This is what I feel should happen. And I think the customer acquisition mindset has to come rather than the fundraising acquisition mindset.
Correct.
For entrepreneurs. Even if a startup is doing 10 crore business a year or even 5 crore business where it's around 30% profit, that's still fine for an entrepreneur. Sustaining it rather than making it a billion and then taking a nosedive, not able to keep the investors happy. I think also, if somebody is growing, please keep a check on the growth. If you raise funds, suddenly you're able to get lucky. I think they should keep a check on the growth, because that's also very important. At some point, they will not know what to do. That is also very important. They should know what to do with the funds.
I agree, Sathya. Actually, nowadays, even I'm witnessing a lot of startups having fundraising as their milestone rather than focusing on their growth, right? So amazing point. So on that note, it's time for us to end this particular section. It was amazing talking to you. Hope to, of course, collaborate with you and as well as the AGBI in the future. So with that being said, thanks again for your time, Sathya. Any closing remarks? We'll move on to the next.
One question, one thing you asked me when we spoke, how are partnerships important and who has been the great partner for you? I think partnerships are really important, as I said, rather than creating some things or, trying to create, everybody's working in silos, right? So most of the incubators, everybody has 3D machines, everybody has CNC machines. So we can actually partner with each other if at all that mindset is there, allowing us. And I think we can actually utilize the assets faster and, better. And for us, Great Lakes itself as a host institution has been a great partner. And it's played an important and pivotal role for us as a partner by offering faculties as mentors, creating working groups. Alumni groups also have come in because our alumni is very strong, and we have people in CXO positions who can actually help us in market access. So I think we can actually add a lot of value there for startups. I think it's worked well in our favor. So.
Super. All the very best, Sathya. Actually.
But we are still struggling. We are still learning. We are still struggling, and then we continue to learn and we continue to see how we can add value there.
Done. And
Right.
as an ecosystem enabler, right, Headstart will be there to support in any way that we can.
I would like to thank Headstart, you, Gautam, Sanjana, and many others, Mukesh, everyone who have been, hearing to us, also mentoring us and guiding us, and talking to us whenever we need. That's really important. Thanks a lot.
Happy to do that actually. So yeah, thanks Sathya again.
So thank you.